Tonight, officially underway, wildfire season has begun in Northeast BC. House arrest, the BC Prosecution Service reviewing a sexual assault sentence, and distracted driving, some northern BC motorists not getting the message. Well, good evening and thank you very much for joining us. And we begin tonight with the warm weather and the official start to wildfire season. A fire breaking out near Highway 97, 17 kilometers southwest of Chetwynd. The BC Wildfire Service was notified of the fire just before 2:30 Tuesday afternoon. It was burning out of control near Cruiser Mountain, east of the Hassler Flats. The fire growing to just over 7 hectares in size before being held. 10 firefighters are still at the scene. The cause of the fire is unknown at this time, but it is believed to be human cause. Now, since April the 1st, there have been 5 wildfires in Northeast BC. One other fire is still burning 37 kilometers northwest of Dawson Creek near Willow Valley. That fire is under control. But there are still 26 fires still burning from last year, all of which are in the Fort Nelson fire zone. The BC Wildfire Service is recommending no burning during windy conditions. Water and tools should be nearby if you are burning, and the public is also being reminded to be aware of local fire bans and restrictions. The Fort St. John veterinarian found guilty of sexual assault is being allowed to continue working during his house arrest. Justin Sewell was sentenced to 2 years less a day for 3 charges in connection to a 2007 sexual assault in Charlie Lake. The Judge David Simpkin ruled he served those sentences concurrently. The prosecution was looking for a 4.5-year sentence that would have sent him to federal prison. However, Sewell avoided jail time. He was sentenced to house arrest instead and is being allowed to go to work at the Rivers Animal Hospital in Fort St. John. When asked if it was planning to appeal the verdict, the BC Prosecution Service telling CJDC-TV News it is carefully reviewing the court's decision. As part of that decision, Sewell must provide a DNA sample. He's back before a judge Thursday to discuss the possibility of having to register as a sex offender. The BC RCMP saying some people in northern BC still have a problem when it comes to distracted driving. And police have been warning for years about the dangers of using cell phones behind the wheel, but it seems the message isn't getting through to everyone. During the month of March, police issued 153 tickets to drivers using electronic devices. And it's not just cell phones. Mounties issuing 61 tickets for people not wearing a seatbelt. And while the summer driving season is around the corner, Mounties are reminding motorists to pay attention and buckle up. A ticket for using an electronic device while driving carries a $368 fine. Not wearing a seatbelt could cost you $167. And Mounties are warning about a significant increase in what they call high-value scams targeting Indigenous communities and businesses in northern BC. The North District RCMP says fraudsters have swindled more than $3 million over the past 15 months. Police say the schemes are sophisticated. They often involve scammers posing as victims, vendors, consultants, or contractors. The attempt to gain access to business contacts and financial transaction records. Mounties say they often create fake email accounts closely resembling those of legitimate vendors or community organizations. They say scammers then request or provide banking information updates. Payments and asset transfers are then redirected to accounts under their control. If you have any information about these scams or you're a victim, you are being urged to contact your local RCMP. And drivers may be enjoying a drop in gas prices thanks to the scrapping of the BC carbon tax, but there are now questions about how the province is going to make up that money without cutting programs or services. In all, the move to cancel the tax will cost the province nearly $2 billion. The BC Conservatives say Premier David Eby inherited a $6 billion surplus. The deficit is now nearly $11 billion, and credit rating agency Moody's has predicted the deficit will soar to over $14 billion this year.
It's impossible to be able to recover from, and that means that it puts all programs at risk. That's why we're asking the questions. Where are they planning to make cuts? What are they planning to do to actually deal with this size of deficit?
BC's finance minister will not say where the cuts are coming from. However, Brenda Bailey did say the size of the deficit, including the impact of the lost carbon tax revenue, will be reported in September. Last week, S&P Global Ratings cut the province's credit rating from AA- to A+, the agency pointing out that BC's ballooning debt and multi-billion-dollar deficits are the reason why. The province is expanding its heat pump rebate and installation programs, the goal to help more British Columbians make the switch to clean energy.
We're investing $50 million this year and another $50 million next year to provide up to 8,300 heat pumps rebates to low and moderate income British Columbians.
The Clean BC Energy Savings Program, launched last June, will now be available to owners and renters in multi-unit buildings. Eligible households could get up to $5,500 to buy a heat pump. And BC's energy minister says the government will spend $100 million over the next 2 years. The province will help install the devices through its partnership with BC Hydro and Fortis BC. 10 BC Conservative MLAs rose in the House today. They described alarming incidents of violence against healthcare workers on the job and pleas from the BC Nurses Union for the province to do more. The issue has gained growing attention across British Columbia after a number of recent violent attacks against healthcare staff at Eagle Ridge Hospital in Port Moody. There was another alarming incident last month when a nurse was strangled unconscious by a patient. Well, now the BC Nurses Union says the number of violent incidents reported in BC has increased to 46 per month.
Violence seems to be increasing. Increasing rates, but also the severity of the incidents.
Healthcare workers are sounding the alarm, but this government continues to treat these assaults as isolated incidents instead of systemic failures.
Mr. Speaker, that's why we have to continue the work that we are doing to create safer workplaces. That's why we're going to continue the work that we're doing with relational security officers, people who are specially trained to help de-escalate situations.
The Nurses Union says more security in healthcare settings, along with better staffing, would contribute to creating a safer workplace for nurses across the province. Measles cases are climbing next door in Alberta. Now a warning has been issued after people may have been exposed in 2 Edmonton locations last week. Alberta Health Services says someone with an active and infectious case of the measles visited a Costco and Chick-fil-A drive-thru on April Fool's Day. It's connected to a measles outbreak in the community of Two Hills, east of Edmonton. The town has 13 confirmed cases, including 7 new cases since Friday. In total, Alberta has 43 confirmed cases of the measles. Health officials are urging Albertans to get vaccinated. As we near the halfway point of the federal election campaign, the race is tightening between the Liberals and the Conservatives. CTV's Scott Hurst has more from the campaign trail as the party leaders continue to crisscross the country.
Pierre Poilievre is promising a Conservative government will be tough on crime.
We will carry out the biggest crackdown on crime in Canadian history.
Speaking at a campaign stop in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, the Conservative leader said criminals convicted of 3 serious offenses should automatically get a minimum 10 years behind bars.
3 strikes, you're out.
No bail, parole, probation, or house arrest during that time, and he says they will also be designated dangerous offenders.
We need a change to lock up the worst offenders, treat addiction, and bring home safety to our communities.
Further west in Vancouver, Jagmeet Singh is promising full universal pharmacare, beginning with all essential medications, looking to build on the pharmacare gains it got from the confidence and supply agreement with the Liberals.
This is going to give a lot of relief to people that are worried about being able to afford their medication. It's going to save money for families. It's also going to improve our healthcare system.
Maxime Bernier of the People's Party of Canada was in London today to announce drastic measures to reform immigration, including a moratorium on new permanent residents until the housing crisis has cooled down.
Mass immigration is destroying our society, our economy, and our unique Canadian identity. We need a pause to repair the damage.
The Bloc Québécois is pushing for Quebec to have more authority to strengthen French language in the province, including an exemption from the Official Languages Act. Yves-François Blanchet is demanding it be protected. Scott Hurst, CTV News, Toronto.
Staying with Quebec, officials there say they're seeing a rise in asylum seekers coming into the province. It comes as protection for hundreds of migrants in the United States is about to expire. More than 550 asylum seekers showed up to the Lacolle border crossing south of Montreal during the first week of April. And that's almost equal to the number of claims in all of January. Now, many of the people crossing the border are from Haiti. They were protected under a Biden administration program that's about to expire on April the 24th. Overall, asylum claims in Quebec are down this year compared to last year, but officials do say there could be a jump in the months ahead. Tariffs on canola are sowing the seeds of uncertainty for Peace Region farmers, and now the Premier of Saskatchewan is calling on Ottawa to help put an end to Chinese tariffs.
In fact, the 100% tariff on canola oil and canola meal is likely the most urgent and most significant tariff impacting the Saskatchewan economy today. Not likely it is. It certainly is.
Premier Scott Moe addressing the issue in a speech to the annual Food, Fuel and Fertilizer Conference in Regina. The tariff was imposed by China in retaliation for Canada's 100% tariff on Chinese electric vehicles. Well, Moe says whoever emerges as the next prime minister must prioritize the removal of the canola tariffs. And U.S. President Donald Trump once again causing confusion in Canada and around the world. Today, Trump changing his mind on his tariff plan, instituting a 90-day pause for most nations. At the same time, Trump also raising the levy on Chinese imports to 125%. Scott Lightfoot has the details.
After days of despair, the markets shot up in a matter of minutes following a social media post from the President of the United States that he had authorized a 90-day pause on global tariffs.
I guess they say it was the biggest day in financial history. That's a pretty big change. And I think the word would be flexible. You have to be flexible.
Just days after proclaiming Liberation Day in America and unveiling a list of reciprocal tariffs against a variety of nations, President Donald Trump announced this afternoon that those tariffs will be paused.
I saw last night where people were getting a little queasy. I think everything had, well, the big move wasn't what I did today. The big move was what I did on Liberation Day. We had Liberation Day in America.
Canadian officials say they've reached out to their U.S. counterparts to see what, if any, impact today's announcement will have on the current trade war between the two countries. U.S. officials now say negotiations will be undertaken with individual countries.
Do not retaliate, and you will be rewarded. So every country in the world who wants to come and negotiate, we are willing to hear you. We're going to go down to a 10% baseline tariff for them.
The exception will be China. Today, that country announced retaliatory 84% tariffs in response to Trump's 104% levy on goods imported from China. So Trump raised that to 125%.
Last year, China made $1 trillion off trade with the United States. That's not right. And now I've reversed it.
Trump denied today that the change in course was a sign he's losing credibility, instead saying he's merely showing flexibility. But critics aren't so sure.
Bullies back down when there's a big pressure. Markets were collapsing. It was a really scary situation. There wasn't any real viable alternative. And so the president and the administration have saved face as best they could by backing off.
The death toll in a horrific roof collapse at a nightclub in the Dominican Republic has gone up. At least 124 people have died while 160 others are injured. This as crews work tirelessly to search for any survivors. So far, 150 people have been rescued. The collapse happened Tuesday in Santo Domingo while a large group of people attended a concert. Among the dead, former Toronto Blue Jays pitcher Octavio Dotel, who was 51 years old. The Blue Jays confirmed the news yesterday, writing on social media, quote, "Our thoughts and prayers go out to all the families affected by this devastating tragedy," unquote. All right, stay tuned. I'll be right back with weather, but as we head to break, we'll look at today's closing market numbers.